Come down. Ooh, you make my high come down. Always tripping when you come around. Never have to cut you out like right now. You see, I don't have to drive me. You can say that for your mama. Maybe you should smoke some. Me try the marijuana. I was never you good. The vibe was straight. Showed you a couple of things and they finished change. I treated you right. Everything was a gift from a time to your bag and the color on your lip.
Welcome to the Seahawks Man to Man podcast, powered by Blue Wire. Shout out to the new company. My name is Michael Sean Dugard. You guys can follow me on whatever Elon Musk is calling that app these days. My ad name has not changed. It's also bang right there under my finger for those watching us on YouTube at Mike Dugard. Make sure you follow, like, rate, subscribe, review, comment on our YouTube channel. Seahawks Man to Man is the name of the channel. That is Seahawks Man, the number 2 man. It's Super Bowl week. If anyone asks you, hey, what's some good Seahawks pods? I'm trying to get up on the Seahawks. Make sure you tell them Seahawks Man to Man. Thank you so much. And on Instagram and TikTok, same thing. Seahawks Man to Man. Appreciate the love and support on those platforms. It means a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Chris, go ahead and talk to him.
What is going on, everybody? It is your boy, Christopher Kidd. You can follow me on Blue Wire and Twitter at CKIDD206 and that's CKid206. Come on, help us get to 1K on TikTok. So I think we're at like 850, 860. So let's keep pushing. Let's get to 1K. We appreciate all the love and support. We just had a person on TikTok. I forgot their name. I guess I can go look it up real quick. But they said, oh, snap, I listen to this pod. I guess I'll follow y'all on here on TikTok. So I thought that was pretty funny. So yes, if you do listen to our show, wherever, YouTube, watch it, listen, Spotify, listen, Apple, wherever you get podcasts. We're also on TikTok too. We're dropping clips. So sometimes we're illustrating things. Well, now you can see the illustrations with our commentary. So check us out on TikTok, Instagram as well, and then YouTube, as I just mentioned. So yeah, we appreciate all the love and support.
It is Super Bowl week, ladies and gentlemen. Technically, this is the bye week, I guess. Super Bowl bye week, whatever. We're going to spend a lot of time after this previewing the game, diving into the matchup itself. This is great theater, you know. Seahawks, Patriots, two very good teams, two well-coached teams, a rematch of Super Bowl 49, which may not matter as much to the people who are playing and coaching in the game if they were not involved in that game, but it matters a lot to the media, I guess, and the fan bases of those two franchises for sure, particularly in Seattle, looking for some get back. Before we're going to dive into all that later in this week with the homie Chad Graff for The Athletic. We're going to dive into that all next week as well when I'm down there in the Bay Area. But for now, we wanted to hear from you guys, what you guys are thinking, what you guys are feeling, what you guys are curious about. So we just wanted to do a mailbag, hear from you guys. So as always, we starting with the voicemails. So let's kick this off with what you guys had.
Hey, this is Osiris from Bothell. I have one question. We have 2 weeks of a press blitz, and I've heard that the press likes to create their narratives in advance. So what kind of narratives are the press going to be creating this week leading up to the Super Bowl? Thank you guys so much for your pod. Love it. Can't wait for more.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You know, Chris, what I'm curious about is I'm curious about a few things. One, this is a more jokey one, but who, particularly a white person, who's gonna mess up JSN's last name in a way that forces them to send out an apology tweet? Somebody's gonna, because it's a tricky last name. It's a tricky last name to say, and it's a tricky last name to type. Yeah,
Mad Dog Chris Russo would be the first.
You think so?
Or Skip Bayless. One of them fiery guys that just goes so fired up and just Smith and oh snap. That would be if there was a betting line, not a betting line. If there was futures on this, I would put $10 on Skip, Ryan, or Russo, Mad Dog Russo screwing that name up. One of the fiery guys, just because when they get fired up, they say things wrong. So you're getting fired up. Smith, Nick.
Yeah, it could get nasty, man. You're gonna want to have to make sure advice to all national media. Just say JSN. Just say JSN. That's it. You can maybe first reference Jackson Smith and Jigba. Take your time. And that last part, back to my white people out there. Take your time. Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's it. Don't get fired. don't have to put out an apology tweet because you mispronounced my man's name or you typed it wrong. Like the reason, full disclosure, I might have said this on the show before. The reason I only refer to him as JSN on Twitter is because I don't even want to type it wrong. And I wouldn't even get in trouble. I wish somebody would tell me how to do that. I'm not standing for that. Anyway, that's a funny one that I was thinking about with the national media this week. So many people trying to.
What do you think would make that mistake if you had to guess?
That's a good question.
You've been around a bunch of reporters and you know a bunch of folks, so I'm sure maybe you don't want to name those people that you actually know per se, but I would imagine you have a couple of guys that you were like, oh yeah, they might screw that up.
That's a good question.
Come back to it, Mike. It's okay.
Honestly, Mike. No, my guess would probably be Stephen A. because he just gets names wrong.
Guys don't even play in the league anymore and he get it wrong, so that'd be funny.
Yeah, he gets names wrong, so that would be he would be my guess. But the other thing that I imagine to actually answer the question about like the media and the national narratives and how clutch he is or is not, will come up quite a bit. Like, hey, is Sam gonna like wet himself, in this game, or did he prove that shouldn't be like the narrative or the storyline anymore? I imagine that'll be one. Drake May being too much, the maybe MVP being too much for the Seahawks defense, how it was in 2023, or excuse me, in 2013, where it's like, oh, the Broncos offense, the best ever. I think they still have the record actually for the most points. They scored like 37 points a game, that Broncos offense did. And then they got their ass beat, but that was a talking point. But actually, maybe in the rare occurrence for Seahawks, Chris, I actually don't think that there will be a lot of like anti-Seahawk narratives, like lazy ones. I think the Seahawks are favored for a reason. I think they opened at like favored by 4 points, which is not a small number for a neutral site. That means Vegas and the money is suggesting that the Seahawks people believe in them. I don't know. I was thinking about this when we got the question. I don't see many like bad or lazy narratives. The only one I could maybe think of would be pulling and using what the Seahawks did in the 2 games against the Rams on defense as maybe an illustration that they're not as good as we think. I think in the Seahawks defense, it may actually be a little fraud because Stafford and Puka go crazy on them. And I could see someone doing that if they haven't been paying attention. But I was actually crunching some numbers earlier today. You want to hear these, Chris?
Do it. Let's get it.
So the Seahawks defense, when they play the Rams, are allowing 28.3 points per game. That's really bad. You allow that, your DC is probably getting fired. But then against everyone else, like I pulled the numbers from every other game, and they're only allowing 15 points per game. So basically, when they don't play Stafford, they're the best defense in the league by a comfortable margin. Remember, they were already the number 1 scoring defense, allowing 17.2 points per game. That's in the regular season, including 2 games against the Rams. And then 15 points per game is what they are when they just play literally anyone else. So while I could see maybe someone pointing out like, well, I don't know, is the Seahawks defense that great? Puka keep carving them up. The easy rebuttal to that would be like, that's just how they play against. That's a Stafford and Puka stat. The Seahawks points per drive allowed when they play the Rams is 2.29. For reference, the Raiders allowed 2.27 points per drive this year. They were 24th. So like they are objectively a not good defense when they play the Rams. And then when they don't play the Rams, they are the best defense in the league by a wide margin. So that's probably the only one. I don't know if you think of another one, but I could see that getting used because it's their most recent game. And there's now multiple instances of Stafford carving them up. So now you say, well, if the other guy we think is MVP is about to play them, maybe he could do the same thing. I could see someone painting that. It's a lazy one, but I could see someone trying to make that case in the national media this week.
Dang, that would be interesting because to your point, are you not watching any games? You didn't watch the last 2 games at minimum. You didn't watch the game against the Rams or the Niners. That the Niners would tell you how good the defense really is. I think you just have to tip your cap sometimes. Hey, that's a good coach over there. Hey, that's a great quarterback over there. Hey, that's number 1A, 1B wide receiver in the NFL. Rams fans would tell you that Puka's the best in the NFL. Seahawks fans would tell you that JSN is. It's a wash. Sometimes elite versus elite. I don't know what you want them boys to do. They got a good offensive line, solid running backs, elite wide receiver, elite quarterback against really good defense, really good corners,
Elite play
really good
caller.
elite play call. Sometimes, the offense wins. It's very hard to stop an offense.
Yeah.
Defense is really tough. They get paid too, as Mike would always say. The other guys get paid as well, and guess what their job is to go do? Beat you and go score. Sometimes you got to tip your hat. All right. Let's get to our next voicemail.
Mike, Chris, Anthony calling from Monroe. I am curious, now that we have punched our ticket to the Super Bowl, what does the defense need to do to eliminate those explosives that we gave up against the Rams? I know Puka Nacua has our number, but is there anyone on the Patriots offense that is similar to Puka that we need to worry about? Thanks, guys. Love your analysis. Bye.
I appreciate that question, and that's something that's going to be a talking point, like we just mentioned. The next couple of weeks. The answer, look. I got to do a deeper dive on the Patriots on both sides of the ball, but the side of the ball I'm a little bit more familiar with, without a deep dive, is their offense. No, there's no Puka equivalent, And sometimes, honestly, in the NFL, we've seen this. Some guys just have other guys' numbers. I think the Patriots actually have an example of that. This is an AFC thing, so I don't know how much you guys have been paying attention, but what's my man's name? What's Booty's first name? Is it Kayshawn? Kashawn?
Oh man, something Booty.
It looks like Kayshawn. I just don't know how to pronounce it. I know what his name is. It Kayshon. Booty, his last name. Booty is Calvin Johnson when he is guarded by Derek Stingley for some reason. Like, go look at Derek Stingley's numbers versus Booty, and then Derek Stingley's numbers versus everybody else. Derek just for some reason cannot cover a deep ball on this guy. Booty is the one who had the one-hander on him in the that would be the divisional round of the playoffs, and Booty also beat him last year on the very similar route, and I think he's beat him again before. Stingley, that is. Stingley is like the best corner in the league for my money. For some reason, he just can't cover Kayshawn Booty down the field. And now Kayshon's a good player. Booty is a good player, but I use it as an example of sometimes it's just a matchup thing, right? The Panthers are not a good offense. For some reason, they are when they play the Rams. They just are. Bryce is super clutch. He's clutch anyway, but he's really clutch against them. The Rams can't guard Coker. They can't guard Tedero McMillan. Sometimes it's just a matchup thing. Another one that really comes to mind, this is an NFC one, so you guys maybe are aware of this one. But Chris, you remember whenever Marshawn Lattimore would play Mike Evans would look like the worst receiver in the world, and then Marshawn would look like Deion freaking Sanders. Like, I don't have their numbers in front of me, but there was a while there where Marshawn would hold this guy to like no catches. This is a guy who has 1,000 yards every year, and he would just lock Mike Evans up, and it didn't make any sense because then the next week someone could just torch Marshawn Lattimore. He's a very good corner, by the way, and then the next week Mike Evans could go torch someone because he's a very good receiver. So I think with the Seahawks and the Rams, it was just one of those things where Puka, the combination, like Chris just mentioned, the combination of an all-pro receiver, an all-pro quarterback in Stafford, a really good O-line, and then a great schemer in Sean McVay. Just that is it. There's the kryptonite for whatever reason. Actually, I know why, because those guys are very good, but I just don't think it's as instructive against these guys. That said, before I toss it to Chris, go look at the touchdowns that the Patriots scored against the Texans. I think they scored 3 of them. I can pull that up to just be very sure. Actually, yeah, let me just do that now. So they scored 3 touchdowns on offense. They had Demario Douglas scored a 28-yarder, and then Stephon Diggs had a 7-yarder, and then Booty had a 32-yarder. So on the Douglas one, the reason I'm bringing up all 3 of those touchdowns is they are like the tightest of tight windows. So we already talked about the Booty one. I can't believe that's his last name. I've said it like 20 times in the last minute. They had the one-hander, like it needed a one-hander on a perfectly placed ball. The Diggs touchdown Go look at the slow-mo replay of that and how the defender is right there as the ball arrives, like his hand on Diggs' wrist. It was so close that one of the reporters asked Diggs after the game, "Man, how'd you catch that ball?" And he said, "With my hands." Yep, smart ass. But that was his answer. And it's a great answer. Fantastic answer. Very Kawhi Leonard-ish, Greg Popovich, like with my hands, duh. Anyway, and then go look at the Demario Douglas touchdown, which is their first touchdown. They play man on, I believe, 4th down. And I think it's Caleb Bullock, the safety. He actually tips the ball while he's diving at it. And then Douglas just happens to still catch it in stride and go score it. Like, these guys, while I don't think they're like better than the Seahawks DBs, I do think if they are going to get explosives, it could be by those very thin margins, like they got in the Texans secondary, which is just as good, if not better, than the Seahawks secondary. Like they can, those guys can make those plays. Do I expect them to on Sunday in the Super Bowl? No, but that's basically how they beat the Texans, with these really thin margins. They made those plays. They can make those against the Seahawks, but I just don't see these guys having the same type of explosive plays against Seattle.
Well, I guess it don't matter. I guess you'd have to look up the stat to see how many times in the 3 matchups, in the first 2 matchups, how much zone and man the Seahawks play. Because I swear, in the divisional game, in the conference game, the Seahawks just manned up the entire game. I just watched, like, I'm just like, yo, Sean McVay, Mike McDonald's like, we're playing man. Damn all that zone. We're sending 4. We might send a pressure every now and then, send an extra guy to make it 5-on-5, but we're going to play man. So I'd be curious from week 1, the first matchup they had against the Rams, how much zone and man they played, versus the second matchup, how much zone and man, and versus their final one, because my God, it was like maybe a lot of match principles as well, but it felt like a lot of man-to-man cover one robber, which is you either have your safety playing in the middle of the field or a linebacker. They did a lot of that. So you play man-to-man against some elite talent, that's going to happen to you. You're going to get beat a few times. It's very tough to, I got Devontae one-on-one. I don't want him getting in the middle of the field, but I'm hand fighting. I stumble, explosive. Or Puka running down the sideline, sailing a post, and then breaks it back in for a simple fade ball, and you just got beat. So they really good wide receivers, as you alluded to, Mike. I can't stress that enough. And to your point with the Patriots, I don't know if they'll be able to. It's not Stephon Diggs of the Minnesota Vikings. He's still very good, but he's not what he was when he was with Buffalo or when he was with the Vikings. Like, that's when he was prime time Stephon Diggs. He was elite. He's still a really good player, but I think the Seahawks will be prepared for that, especially when they went through a gauntlet of Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Thank God Tutu wasn't out there, because who knows what would have happened. Tutu and Puka, as Mike mentioned a few years ago, they decided to go crazy week 1 against Seattle. Came up and lit it up. So that's a different topic for a different day. But yeah, I do think that this Seahawks defense will fare better against the Patriots. But they still got to strap up and go play, because it's not the Patriots going to come out here and lollygag around. They believe they can win the Super Bowl just as much as the Seahawks do. So I'm excited for this matchup indeed. And I think the Seahawks definitely have the upper hand, but go out there and play and see how it goes. Roll the dice.
Hey, Mike and Chris, this is Ross from Iowa. I've been listening to you guys pretty much since you began the podcast, but it's been a long time, and I got a couple questions for you. Just first off, I mean, how crazy is it if you remember, back in the days, 2019, 2020, 2021, we're sitting here talking about, these acquisitions we're making, these draft picks we're making, and still it was a middling team, and like we're trying to talk ourselves into it being great, but it was just a frustrating time. And how far we've come since that time frame to this year, where, and again, I appreciate you guys, you're balanced reporters, you're not, fanboys who are just always talking about the Seahawks, but, there was a little bit of a trepidation this year where I felt like you guys were a little bit slow to believe. And I guess I would just say, like, what is your turning point in the season when it clicked to you that this team was ready to compete for a Super Bowl, and obviously we're at the point they're at now? Just again, love the podcast, love the insight, guys. Appreciate your responses.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, trepidation's a great word. Good vocab word, by the way. Definitely would describe how I felt coming into the year. I just was not sold on the Sam thing. I really wasn't sold on them building the necessary team around Sam to get it done. Like I just really didn't think they could build a team good enough to do what they did in the divisional round. Like where Sam just has to just be out there, make like a couple throws, but you can still put the belt to someone's ass without Sam doing it. There was too many years of Russ having to be Superman, too many years of Geno just on his ass, because the O-line wasn't good enough. OCs that couldn't run the ball. I was just like, why would this change? Just because you bring in the wide zone. Like, I just didn't believe it was that simple. And they didn't change the O-line much. We only had one game of Jalen Sundell at center in Green Bay. I didn't think it was like the greatest thing in the world. So yeah, I was definitely apprehensive. Had some trepidation. Good words. All these are great words. I don't know if I have one turning point. I do think that. So we've referenced this a few times on the show. I remember reaching out and talking, or at least talking to Chris after joint practice in Tennessee and being like, "This is bad. This is very bad." This year, after joint practice in Green Bay, and even training camp, it was very clear that no one can guard Jax. Like I became more sold on that particular element of the offense watching him every day, and then watching him in Green Bay. I was like, okay, these other guys are not getting open, but number 11 sure as hell is, and there's no one that can guard that guy. Like I became far more sold on that part. The defense, I was pretty much sold on the whole time. I was fine. I thought they could be a great top 5 defense, lead the league in scoring. Like that wasn't something I had in doubt. It really was just, is your offense built enough around Sam where he doesn't have to like go make the throw, basically, so he doesn't have to go do what he did in the conference championship. He did it anyway. And I would say, I can't remember the pod, but there was a pod where I was like, guys, go book your tickets. It was late in the year. And it was late in the year. I think it was after the Rams game, maybe, where I was just like, I just don't think anyone can come to Seattle and deal with these guys. And slowly but steadily, beyond just like them beating the Rams in week 16, I think I just it felt like they were programmed. When I covered those Pete Carroll teams, it felt like they were programmed. They would say like a bunch of Pete-isms all the time. Like, we're just competing and, be on time, and they would just talk like the coach, it's kind of like how kids talk like their parents. Your dad has a saying and your grandma has a saying. You get older and you'd be like, as my grandma used to say, such and such, right? They were kind of like that with Pete. And then I just saw him starting to get like that with McDonald. And it was like every game felt like, oh, wow, you guys really believe this stuff. I remember the first time D Hall told me, he was like, yeah, man, we got a saying around here. Like, it doesn't have to be close. I think that was after the Cardinals game that they smacked him. It's like, yeah, it doesn't have to be. That's a thing inside the building. When I first learned of when I first heard them say high powered, like that was Julian Love, something he told me. And it was like, okay, you guys really believe that. And I started hearing it later in the year. And then there was just all these other sayings, even after last week when they were like, 12 is 1. Yep. See, I just slowly but surely was like, okay, y'all believe this stuff and it's working. So I didn't have an official turning point for like the whole team. It was gradual. Maybe starting with Jax and like, okay, he's a wide receiver 1. That's real. And then everything else just started to fall in place. And then I think last thing on this, Chris, when they had was it a 10-minute drive or something like that? 9-minute drive in the week 18 they just held the ball. They just got first downs. And I was like, okay, that's championship ball. Chris and I have been screaming for a drive like that for about 2 months. You haven't. They finally did it. That's when I was like, in terms of that particular side of the ball and that style, I was like, all right, now you guys are a big boy offense. Now you are. That was probably my last piece where I was like, okay, you guys can go win a championship. And then what do you know? They had that same type of drive to go clinch a Super Bowl berth in the conference championship game.
For me, I would say it's also been gradual, just seeing, because I didn't know what to expect from this team, because I was someone that believed this team would win probably 10 games and win a road game and a playoff and then lose to, you name it, Rams, Eagles. That was kind of what I saw for this team. And then the season progressed. Oh, they're looking good. The game where I said to myself that they might get to the Super Bowl is after they gave up 24 to the Titans. They locked in the following week, and everyone was hyping up Rosemer to be some savior that can come in and compete. I remember watching the Fox Sports pregame. I forget which person it was, but they predicted he would set an NFL rookie record for passing yards against the Seahawks. And I'm thinking, is Brosmer that good? Brosmer went out there and looked like he never played football in his life. And that's how elite the defense was. Seahawks shut him out. He threw an awful pick. They just made it hell. And then to top it off, the following week, they whoop Kirk Cousins' ass. So those 2 weeks just told me, oh yeah, they've got something special. The run game was still in question, but with hindsight, it all worked out. But I would say those 2 games really tip my scale of this team going from a wild card to, oh my gosh, they might end up winning the NFC West. The Rams are still one of a team that I was thinking could beat the Seahawks, but now that I look at it and look back, it's the Seahawks were right there in front of me. And I started to believe after those 2 games specifically, just because in previous years with Pete, you saw games where, oh, they could lose this game because for whatever reason, it's just a team that's not good that they just lose to. Hey guys, fans, 12s, that didn't happen this year. There wasn't a game on the schedule that the Seahawks just randomly lost. The 3 games that they lost were to good teams. Teams that, okay, we'll give you that. Even though Tampa Bay fell off, at the point in time, they were a good team and the Seahawks were without some of their DBs. San Francisco ended up being a decent team, just not as good as the Seahawks. The Rams, we know what the Rams are capable of. A lot of people are saying the conference championship was the Super Bowl. So back to the point of they didn't lose to any scrubs teams that they shouldn't have lost to this season. They beat up all the teams they need to, which I think goes into why their point spread was so elite at plus 191. They smoked the teams that they needed to, and that's why they're in this position. So again, those 2 games for me were Seahawks versus Vikings and going up against the Falcons. Those 2 games right there, I was like, yeah, this team, they might be able to make it. So that's what I would say.
Before you go to the next voicemail, real quick, I found it. It was Steve Mariucci who predicted that
Thank
Brosmer
you.
was going to go
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah,
I wanted to know. That was going to bug me all show if I didn't Google that.
Yeah, I should have
No, it's
grabbed
okay.
that clip.
That's why we
because
do it together. Yeah.
It was so funny. I'm thinking, is this guy really that good? Because I didn't know much about him, and then he goes out there and looks ass. And I know it was a hot take, so you're forced to give something, but you want to do that against the Seahawks defense that has been good all season. The defense, by the way, we're not talking about the Seahawks offense struggling against the Vikings. We're talking about Brosmer lighting up the defense. So that was just a really bad hot take.
Yeah, he predicted 485 yards for Max Brosmer, by the way. Nuts.
Oh, insane.
Hello, this is Rodney from Southern California. I've got a question about Leslie Frazier. I was so excited when he was added to the crew a couple of years ago, and with all the success that McDonald has found with the Seahawks as a head coach, I'm wondering how big a part does Leslie play? And you never hear his name mentioned at all, so I was curious about that, you being around the team, if you have any insight into his role. Thank you.
Yeah, I do. Yes. Good question. Mike McDonald does bring up Leslie quite a bit in varying uh, capacities. Sometimes it might be as simple as how you do a schedule thing. Like, hey, maybe we don't go pads today. What do you think, Leslie? Like stuff like that. Something as simple as a logistical thing. All the way to maybe game planning stuff. Like he's like a special assistant to the head coach because he was a head coach type of thing. Mike McDonald actually said, I think last week, it's like, man, he's way more right. He's right more often than I would like, I believe is the quote there. So you can tell he really he's providing valuable insight, on everything from how they do scheme stuff to just probably handling us media, whether Mike would admit that or not. But so it's a bunch of different things. Mike's 38, I believe Mike McDonald is. There's a lot that comes with this job and sitting in that big chair from media obligations to just messaging in public in general. Like, who cares how you answer a question about certain stuff? But it really is like, all right, we're asking you about a certain player. How do you want to handle that? That player's going to hear that. That player's mom is going to hear that. That such and such is going to hear that. And so that's where Leslie comes in. Just like how to sit in the big chair, I guess, is the summary of that. Because I don't think some coaches realize this and some don't, some care, some don't. Like how much your words, particularly when you're critiquing a player, really matters. Like I've read quotes from the head coach before, whether it's Mike McDonald or Pete, to the players, and they'll say, "Coach said that, huh? Okay. Finish your thought." Like very clearly pissed, right? Like, and Mike seems to be very aware of that, how he talks about guys, and that's something I imagine that reps helps with, something even Leslie would help with. So it's just all that stuff about being a head coach, how you handle your own assistants, how you delegate, where he needs to spend his time. Like, all right, the offense isn't looking good. Does Mike need to spend an hour less per week on blitz designs and third down to go sit with uh, all 17 of his run game coordinators and figure out how they can hit this wide zone stuff? Maybe. What does Leslie think? It reminds me of, this is a really obscure reference. You guys probably won't remember this, but um, there was that guy. I think it was Rick Rubin, the old white guy with a beard. When Chris, remember when Jay-Z was about to drop that his album just like on Samsung on smartphones exclusively. It was I think it was Magna Carta Holy Grail. They had the Samsung commercials and they would run during the NBA finals. And it was like, wow, at midnight on 4th of July, his album is going to hit all our phones at once. If you have like a Samsung phone, I think it was very revolutionary idea. And in the commercials, there was this old guy. Is it Rick Rubin? I think it was Rick Rubin. Yes, it was Rick Rubin was like sitting on the couch, just sitting there looking like a hippie, arms swinging. And I think I remember Kanye once describing like how Rick Rubin executive produces albums. He said Kanye was like, he's not a producer, he's a reducer. Meaning like you have some idea and it's great and you have all these things, he just like chops it. It's almost like an editor, basically. Like you turn in a 2,000 word article, give it to Rick Rubin, it's a 1,400 word article. You turn in an 8-minute song to Rick Rubin, it's like, take out this, take out that, take out this. Nah, that's not good. So I've always envisioned Leslie in that role of just like Mike has these ideas, you run him by the big dog. He's like, you don't need to do that. Do ACT practice today. It's like, Mike, you're overthinking. Just do the tush push on 4th down. Those are just examples. Not saying Mike has said those things, but anyway, Leslie's basically special assistant to the head coach in that way for whatever he needs. Maybe they need to pray together sometimes. Mike's super religious, and do that. So he's everything he needs. And I think you're probably going to see anytime these young guys get these jobs, sometimes you're going to see them bring in a guy like that. Like if that Grant Udinsky dude, who's like the hot young shot guy with no facial hair, that's the Jags OC. If he gets a job, I almost guarantee you he's going to at some point hire a Leslie Frazier or some vet dude to be around him and help him out with the job. I feel like all these guys need that because as good as leaders as they are, there's just parts of this job that it's just good to be able to bounce ideas off somebody who's been there and done that, like someone like Leslie has.
Hey guys, Toby Srebnick from Carl Springs, Florida. I'm a lifelong Seahawks fan dating back to 1979 when I was a little kid, left-handed, saw Jim Zorn play on TV on Monday night, and I'm just so elated today that we're going back to the Super Bowl. Great job with the podcast. I listen every week. And I love that, Michael, that you got a shout out on one of the local stations with the whole comment, we did not care. My 2 quick questions. Derek Young making that adjustment on special teams to be in perfect position to recover the fumble. I honestly didn't know he'd been with the team for 4 years. Can you just talk a little bit about what it's like for a special teams player in the NFL, how they stick around so long and just to make plays like that? It's got to be unbelievable. And my other question, I've seen some chatter that Drake may have hurt his right shoulder at some point in the game. Do we know if that's a fact? And what, if anything, do you think that will do to the defensive game plan for the Super Bowl? Great job, guys. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Go Hawk.
Appreciate the love. Yes, Derek Young, 7th round pick in 2022. He's part of Rick's draft class. Kobe's in there. Boye, Ken, Abe. What a class. All those guys are in there. As far as special teamers, man, I love talking, not love, but I enjoy talking to guys who are quote unquote at the bottom of the roster because you really see how much you love football when you got to do stuff you ain't been doing. Like Derek's a receiver. Most of what he does is running and hitting. He is a receiver. That's not what he do, there's just a level of appreciation that I have for those guys. Because to get where you are, to get where you're in the NFL, like especially for someone like Derek, who's from a D2, Lenore Ryan, I believe is his college, 7th round pick, you gotta beat a man. Typically, you got to be the man. Like I talk about that with the guys all the time, like guys who do the dirty work, on the team. You're just usually not a dirty work guy unless you're a lineman. But look at someone like Cooper Kupp, for instance. He's just been the man everywhere he go. He was, I don't know his high school stats in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he was whipping ass in Yakima. Otherwise, you get the scholarship, right? I know he was a late bloomer, but then I know he was at Eastern killing it. He's the guy, goes and wins the Triple Crown in LA, Super Bowl MVP. And now it's like, hey, bro, we're about to run a screen to the 23-year-old. Can you block? And he's like, yes, I will. Because he loves the game so much. And I'm it's a long-winded way of saying all these guys really just love this stuff, for real. And they just really just want to contribute. Honestly, they just really want to contribute and be out there and feel like they're part of the thing. But the guys who do the special teams, who really invest in it and end up doing it, they take pride in it because they love it, because they realize that that's how you stick around. But to get the opportunities you want to do what your regular job is, to get carries or to get touches or to get reps at corner, you are just going to have to play special teams. And you got to take pride and you got to love that like you love the other parts of your job, and it's the guys who have the right perspective that stick around. I remember talking to Aesop Winston Jr., go Cougs, when the first time he got called up to be active in a game, like he knew he wasn't probably gonna get on the field to play receiver. He's like, Mike, if I just get there on special teams, like I'm up, I'm active, I'm up today. That means the world to these guys. And when you take advantage of it because it means the world to you, you play like it. Same thing with Cody White. It sounds really sad to see Cody White get hurt, because Cody's one of them guys. He's been in the league for like 6 years or something. Just made the 53-man roster for the first time this year. You could see by his Instagram post how excited he was. And it's like guys like that to just be up, to just be active. The guys who treat that like an honor and a privilege are the guys who stick around. It's like, yeah, I'm up, but shoot, I'm only on special teams. Those guys are not in the league. They're just not. You got to be like, I'm up today. I'm on special teams. I'm going to take pride in this stuff. The Seahawks have a lot of guys like that. Pete laid a good foundation for you could get a Ricardo Lockett to be like, special teams is my thing. This is what I do. I'm going to take pride in this. Tariq is one of those guys, coincidentally wears the same number as Ricardo. But I mean, that Nick Bellore was one of those guys, why he stuck around so long. Nico Thorpe was one of those guys who's like, special teams is my bag. Of course, Nico wanted to get out there and play corner, but he embraced playing special teams. I haven't talked to Tariq, but I just know I've talked to enough guys who do that stuff that I just know how most of them think. And Tariq's been a workman-like dude. So that's how guys like that stick around. Now, you typically don't get re-signed, which is the crappy part about that. But that's how you keep a job, is you embrace special teams. And the last thing, yes, Drake is dealing with like a right shoulder thing, but it, like Mike McDonald said, and that quote that I got the shout out for, he do not care. Drake hurt, Drake's fine. Guys are hurt, guys are fine. Doesn't matter. What do? They're gonna focus on what they do. Don't matter if Drake can throw or not. They're gonna go out there and treat it like he can and go attack and do their best stuff. I'm sounding too coach speaky, so I'll stop. But and yeah, Chris, I enjoyed that shout out. I text you that clip. I was like, oh man, look at Mike thinking like me. Yeah, that's how we opened the show. And what do you know? Mike McDonald brings it up unprompted. Yeah, worked. Shout out to you, Mike McDonald. I appreciate the shout out there.
Guys, this is Dan from Halifax, UK. So my question is, how big of an impact can Rasheed Shaheed have in the Super Bowl game? He's been so good on special teams since we traded for him, but do you think that this could be the game where we see him make more plays as a receiver? Much love, guys. Thank you. Love the pod.
Chris, this is the tricky one for me a little bit. I don't know. I'm torn. What do you think?
For me, shout out to you, Dan from Halifax. That's dope. We're getting listeners from all over. That's awesome. We appreciate all the love and support. For me, Rasheed Shaheed, it's there. I think it's simple. If teams want to leave you one-on-one with a corner, you take your shot. You saw that on the first third down for the Seahawks against the Rams. They said, we like our chances with number 32 guard Rasheed Shaheed, and Sam Darnold stepped back, saw there was space, and let it fly. Luckily, if Rasheed Shaheed just kept running, he would have scored. But he was, kind of peeking behind him to see where homeboy was at. If he would just hit the gear, he would have scored, because that was a beautiful ball. Hit him in stride. That was beautiful. I think it comes down to what teams are giving you. Usually, I don't think the Patriots are going to give too many looks where they're press man and with no safety help. That's where when I watched that play, I'm like, what were the Rams thinking? Like, do you not know who this is? I know who it is. And then when I remember watching the game broadcast, obviously, like the rest of you, because I know Mike is there getting the all 22 view. I'm watching it like, Sam, if that safety, who I can't see on the screen, but if I would imagine he is playing over the top. If he's not, let it fly. And what do you know? He drops back. I think it was a 3-step drop, and he lets it go. And I knew, oh, that's first down. I thought it was gonna be a touchdown, but I think you're gonna have to look at those matchups. Also, putting guys in motion, getting him moving, because he can be effective also on the ground, which that's kind of, as Mike has mentioned before, gadgety guy, but he is proven to be more than that, especially with special teams. But I think you just have to try to get him one-on-one situations, right? You get JSN out there, they're going to try to put a safety over the top on him every time because he is the number one threat. Cooper Kupp, he's intermediate, but do you really want to leave your third best corner one-on-one with Cooper Kupp? Maybe not. So I think there's opportunities. It's just, what is the defense going to show you? And I know the Patriots have at least two decent. Well, I know they have Christian Gonzalez, who's elite. I don't know about their other two. I guess I can look it up real quick. But
Carlton
I
Davis
would
is
be.
pretty good. Former Bucks
Oh
guy
yeah,
with
you know
the
what?
Lions. Carlton
Yeah,
Davis is good.
he had a good time against Tyreek Hill. You guys remember that? Gave my homeboy the peace sign when the Bucks ended up. Was it against the? I think it was the Dolphins a couple years ago in a regular season game. But nonetheless, my thing is just looking up matchups. How can you get Rasheed Shaheed the football? He's not excellent at, I would say, intermediate routes where there's contact. If you can just get him wide open, he's gonna make the play. Because a lot of times when there's a lot of congestion, DB is able to knock the ball out of his hands. He's just not as strong as a JSN would be at the catch point. And that's okay. His strength isn't coming back to the football and making great plays. Like, if he can get the ball in space and get down, he can do that. But I think it's more so creating matchups that Kubiak sees from the film study and how they can attack this Patriots defense. And I think it might just come down to play action. So maybe in the Super Bowl, he gets a play action bomb as opposed to lining up 3rd and 1. He's on the outside, DB playing press coverage with no safety. I can't imagine that being the case. I would imagine they're going to play 2 safeties up top, and maybe they end up playing quarters, but that can be tricky as well with 4 deep. Do you want to really risk that throw down the sideline if the safety can read it and there's no threat over the middle? So I just think it's really about what Clint Kubiak sees on the film study and how they can attack using Shaheed, because he is a threat. I know he only caught 1 pass, but that 1 pass, you can see he's been part of some good stuff with this team these last month. Punt return, kick return, 3rd down, pivotal 3rd down. After the Seahawks defense got the Rams off the field, you don't want to give the ball back to the Rams with an opportunity to go and respond and put some points on the board. Sam and Shaheed were on the same page. I'm like, nah, we got this. 3rd and short, go get a young fella. So I think I'll look up the matchups and see how they can attack the Patriots.
Yeah, Marcus Jones too is one of the other corners. Good return guy. You know what I think, Chris? They just got complacent, which is so odd because they held him to 1 target for 0 yards in the first game, and the 1 target in the Week 16 game, and that was the interception. Josh Wallace got him, so they probably got cocky, like you said, leaving him with no safety help with a guy that they don't even consider like a starter. Like Darius Williams got pulled in the game.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that was weird. And just my last thing on this, I think you're right, is they just got to use him more like a receiver, not just gadget guy. But you know what's funny about that is, Chris, that was their 4th time the Rams playing Rasheed Shaheed on Sunday, because he played them with the Saints as well. They played him 4 times, so they know what's up. That's what made that funny as well. He had 5 catches for 68 yards. They beat the snot out of the Saints that game. But Rasheed had a 26-yard catch in that game, routed the hell up out of Emmanuel Forbes. And then he only had 2 catches for 27 yards, including a 21-yarder, though, I think on a sail route in Week 11. And then nothing in Week 16. And then, only that 51-yarder that you brought up, in the championship game. So they actually did a decent job on him those other 3 times. It was just, I think that's why we don't got to worry about 22. It's just like, that's
what you thought.
That's just arrogant. He's still fast.
That
right?
was my next point. Like, he still runs 4.3. That doesn't change.
He didn't get slow because y'all locked him up. It's like, no.
You just played smart. You safety over the top, played deep coverage. I get it. There's ways you can slow it down.
Yeah, they got arrogant. I don't think the Patriots will get that arrogant, but we'll see.
I didn't think the Rams would either. I'm watching the play happen. I'm like, they are not pressed up against Shaheed. I said the safety better be over the top. That was my first inclination while watching the play. Safety has to be over the top, and he's not. I'm like, well, Chris Shula, who do you think he is? You might, if anything, if that was Forbes, okay, because you saw that he made the play where he got beat, but because he's 11 feet, he made the play. He was able to tip the ball, and that eliminated Rasheed Shaheed's first touchdown as a Seahawk. That was like the first time they got a 30-yard bomb. Well, not a bomb, but it was a 30-yard pass or something, and Forbes made a great play. If it was Forbes and they tried it, I understand that. He is long, he has some speed, so that made sense. But Williams, okay, I guess. But Mike, you did receive some DMs questions, so we'll go ahead and start with Nate Tepp. You published your book and got to cover a team in the Super Bowl in the same season. What has it been like for you, Mike, to cover the Seahawks through the playoffs and now going to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, man, very busy, very, very busy. Mostly it's just been rewarding, meeting all you guys on the road at games, hearing how long you've been listening, hearing or even if you haven't been listening to the pod, I get some people who are like, oh, I hear you on Puck's podcast on Mondays. I hear you on KJR, on Wednesdays or Thursdays. Oh man, I hear you all the time on Heed the Call. Heed the Call is super popular, by the way. I get a lot of that. It's like, oh, where you at on Heed the Call? Not my call that I'm not on there. But I mean, for what it's worth, Dan and Mark, they would have me. It's above them as well. Anyway, so that part's been super, super rewarding. Just getting all the feedback, all the love, and it feels very similar to. It just feels more rewarding, I think, to cover the team in the Super Bowl that like I'm the beat writer for, because I'm like I was just on a planning meeting with all the athletic people who were going. And I think Chad, our Patriots reporter, I think we were the only first timers there. Maybe Chad's covered a Super Bowl. I haven't. And then all these other people have, right? Because they're like national writers or something, or they live in the host city. So you get to go, like our Niners writers will be there, for instance. The Niners aren't in it. You don't really get that. I feel like it's just a different feeling. I was thinking about that when I was whenever I talk to like David Aldridge, who covers our NBA side. Like DA gets to go to the finals every year. I read DA every year in the finals. And it's like, yeah, he's just so used to covering the best of the best. I don't know if he takes it for granted, but it's like, it's got to feel different if you're like been that guy who's been the beat writer for the Oklahoman for years and then the Thunder make it, or if you were the guy for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel and then the Bucks make it, Milwaukee Bucks. Like that, I imagine for those guys, that feels a little different. You just feel like you were part of the grind a lot more. That's probably why I got like congratulatory text this week as if I was going to the bowl, because they know I'm there every day, as opposed to just like I'm a national writer who just parachutes into the Super Bowl every year. Like, which is nothing wrong with that. But like I was talking to Jerry Brewer, who used to work at the Washington Post. He's with us at the Athletic now. Jerry's based here. Jerry covered those Super Bowl teams for the Seahawks. Jerry's been to the Super Bowl. This is what he do, as opposed to this is what I get to do. I imagine it probably means more to me than it does all those people. This particular Super Bowl, like, because they're always there. Mike Silver, another one of my national writer colleagues, he's going to be at the next Super Bowl if the Seahawks aren't in it. I won't be. So I'm documenting every minute of this. I don't know how much phone memory I have in there, but I'm about to test it on this iPhone that I got. There's gonna be videos and pictures every day. I'm documenting everything because who knows when I'll be back. Very similar to the players and coaches, you just don't know. Whereas it's different, I would imagine, for the people who are always there. And good for them. Eventually, I want to get to a job where I'm doing that as well, where I'm always at the Olympics or finals or Super Bowl or whatever, All-Star weekend. But it does feel cool to be like, feels like I earned it a little bit more, if that makes sense. Although I didn't really, the Seahawks did. But that's been really great. And also, I'm just kind of glad I was wrong about all that stuff in the offseason. Glad I was wrong about Sam, because Sam's story is objectively very good, and I do hope it reverberates around the league, just like Geno's seemed to, where it's like we got to stop giving up on some of these quarterbacks. so early. Maybe we should just stop letting them go to the Jets. Maybe that's the issue. You go to the Jets or the Browns, it just doesn't go well. You got to get out of there. But I think Sam's story is very cool. And I think I talked about last pod about getting to know some of the guys, getting to know Ernest, getting to see Quandre again, see him every day now. It was really cool. But yeah, just some of the story stuff, like stuff I've written has been cool, and it's gotten picked up by some national stuff, getting love on stories and everything. Getting that shout out from Mike was cool. Everybody has sent me that 710 clip, by the way, of him shouting me out. But all that is dope because it all feels earned, as opposed to just me having a job where I was going to the Super Bowl regardless. Hopefully it all makes sense. But that's felt really cool. At least the Super Bowl part of it. Like it does feel like I earned a spot to be here and did the grind, as opposed to yeah, you're a national writer for Yahoo. Go to the Super Bowl. I'm not that lucky. I had to, earn it, so to speak.
Look at that. You would think Mike's a part of the roster. He sounds like one of the players. We earned the right. I know that's right, Mike.
For real, that's what it feels like. We've been potting after some bad losses and stuff like that. Like I don't take for granted covering playoff games. That matters to me. I've only covered. I think how many playoff games have I covered? The Dallas game, the Eagles game, the Packers game, the wild card game that they lost to the Rams, COVID, the 2022 wild card game, that's 5, and then these 2. So I've only covered 7 playoff games. That's it. Think about it, that's a pretty small number. There are some people who cover at least 4 or 5 a year. Mike Silver was at a playoff game every weekend. Works for us at the Athletic. I was not. So that's cool. I do feel like I have a very different perspective than some of the other people. On top of the fact that, last thing on this, I took a picture of my homie Jacob Thorpe, who's doing some freelance stuff for the Spokesman Review. JT and I, we used to work for competing papers in Pullman. He worked for the Spokesman Review. He used to be the Wazoo beat writer, and I was there for the sports editor of the Moscow Pullman Daily News. Me and JT took a picture in the press box. We was like, dog, look at this. Look at where we at. I used to cover 8-man football. I was telling JT, I've covered high school wrestling. I've covered how there's National Signing Day and a kid grabs the hats and commits to LSU and that's on TV. I've done National Signing Day stories where the front page story is me writing about a girl going to junior college to run track. That's such a big deal in those small towns that's front page of the sports section news. Going to a JC in Kansas or something like that is where she was going. Maybe she was running cross country, didn't matter. Or going playing softball at Montana. That was a front page story for me. So yeah, to cover the Super Bowl, yeah, I'm always gonna cherish that every single day. And this feels like a culmination of that. Being able to go there. And I'm from Seattle. That's super cool too. The Seahawks are in the bowl. That doesn't get lost on me either.
This next one is from Donna B. Who will be the unsung hero on the defense for the Seahawks against the Patriots?
I'm struggling with this one, Chris, because it feels like this defense is so damn popular that unsung is tough. I would say, who would it feel the most rewarding for me to see make a big play would probably be Reek. If Reek has the game of his life, I would just be very happy for Reek if that happens. It wouldn't be unsung because people know who Reek is, for better or worse, mostly because they just tweet mean things at him. But I would just be selfishly very happy for Reek if he was to just ball out, make a couple clutch plays in this game. That doesn't fall in the category of unsung, maybe, but he would be my vote. I don't know yours.
I like the way you phrased it because, yeah, to your point, everyone does know. But if I had to go, I'd go number 29. He was, the Rams were like, hey, little guy over there, let's attack him, and Josh Jobe. So to your point about Reek, if he can have a game where he gets multiple PBUs and maybe gets an interception, he hasn't had one since, what was it, he got a nice interception. Right? Was it? Did he pick off? Man.
He picked off Brock Purdy in week 1. I know that.
That was some great coverage. Yeah. So I don't think he's had a pick since then. So maybe him being the guy that's able to get his hands on the football, get a big turnover in a big moment, I think that'd be dope as an unsung hero. Just because, yeah, he's not. How do I say this the nicest? He might be your out of all the defenders, he might be the guy that teams are like, yeah, we could try to go at him. But I think in this game, he has an opportunity to make some serious plays because they don't have Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams on that side. They got Stephon Diggs and Mr. Booty, but those two aren't who I just referred to. And I think he can definitely have a really strong game against this defense. And he ain't afraid of nobody. He wants all the smoke. He was out there jawing with Devontae after a couple of pass that went over his head. It appeared that Devontae wanted a pass interference. And I don't know what Josh said, but I would imagine it's, nah, bro, stop being soft. Come on, man. Ain't nobody really? So he's about that action, boss. He really wants all the smoke. So number 29, that's who I would look out for. This next one comes from Andrew. This is an interesting one for sure. All right. It's about our guy, Anthony Bradford. Is he going to be a problem for the Seahawks in the big show? No. He's not. I don't think so.
I'm hoping not. There's potential for it. He has had some really bad moments. Well, I wouldn't say really bad moments. I was just watching the tape. Like, he had a really quietly, really bad sequence there in the first half where he blew his block against Puna, which is why Ken had to bounce outside, lost like 2 yards on a run, or maybe it was Halani. The run went backwards. And then the very next play, he's called for like holding or something. Then they're like in 2nd and 19 at the goal line. I was like, damn, bad sequence. And he can have that happen sometimes. This is a really good interior D line. I said I haven't studied their D line. I do know that. I do know Milton Williams is good. That I don't really need to do much tape diving on to know. So yeah, I think it's possible that he or Gray or Sundell honestly just have some really bad reps. AB had some bad reps in the championship game too. On one of those, I think it's the Jax touchdown. He just gets put on his back. I believe, is that the Jax touchdown where he does? I believe so. We can double check that, but I believe the Jax touchdown, he gets put on his back, and that's why Sam is trying to scramble, or was thinking about scrambling, but ends up staying there and delivering on a little corner route. So it's possible. I do think he's been playing well, but it only takes one or two of those moments where it's like, oh damn, he got beat. But in general, though, I feel really confident about the O-line in general. Everybody. Charles, who played well against Verse. Sorry. I just watched the tape, so that's in my mind. Charles, Gray. I thought Jalen was moving really well in this game. Screen game was working. Shout out to Kubiak. So it's possible, but I actually don't think so. I don't think that the offensive line, this how it shows you how far the Seahawks have come, Chris. The Seahawks are in the Super Bowl against a good defense, and I am not worried about the O-line. That is crazy. Look how far. Look at God. Look at how far these guys have come.
Great way to put it, man. This next one is from Dennis. Without Charbonnet, how could K9 in the running game get going versus the Patriots interior D-line? More outside might work.
Yeah, we're outside zone, wide zone. You just want to get those guys on the move, and yeah, but it's also whether you get them on the move or not, you still have to block them while you're on the move. That's why getting athletic linemen like Gray Zabel, like Jalen Sundell is so important. I thought those guys had some really good blocks on some runs where it didn't spring for much. They didn't even have an explosive run in this game by a running back, this game being the championship game. But they did put some good reps on tape. And sometimes Ken just was a little slow to read it, or like one play, he had the edge. I think it's Salbert and AJ just body the edge, but then Jax loses. So that guy just cleans Ken up, and that sucked. But those guys, they still got to win. Even if you run to the outside, it doesn't mean those guys in the interior can't affect it. A lot of times what happens when you run to the on wide zone is that like those interior guys are chasing the play from behind. And if those edges aren't set and those guys running backs can't explode forward, that's when you get chased down from behind. That was actually happening a lot earlier in the year where, yeah, maybe they tried to get to the edge, but such Calais Campbell happens. You know, he chases the play down from the backside. Or name a good interior defensive player. Puna Ford has played 3 great games against the Seahawks for what that's worth. Really, you talk about unsung guy. That would probably be the guy for the Rams. Puna's been excellent. So Yeah, you do. They are going to have to hit all their, perimeter runs. But either way, perimeter run, inside runs, gap stuff, whatever, they're just going to need to account for that interior front and just win. They are. They're just going to have to win. Again, I feel very confident about that as well because while you have while you have these splits where the defense doesn't play well against the Rams, I actually think that the Seahawks and O line has played good against a really good Rams front. They've been battling really well against them, which is odd because I've seen them not play as good against worse fronts. But Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, Jared Verse, Byron Young, I think they played really well. There was some of the best pass protection Sam's had all year in the game in the conference championship against a really good front. There was a throw I was looking at on film. I can't remember what throw. It might have been the Shaheed throw, actually, on the 50-yarder. Boy, that pocket's so damn clean. Like, it's just great. Sam just there. Byron Young rushing, Jared Verse rushing. Who cares? Pocket's clean. So, I feel there's a lot of ways to avoid getting beat up by their interior linemen. But really, you can only avoid that by so much. You really just got to go win your matchups. I think they will.
This next one is from Darren. How does Kubiak's offense and play calling match up with the Patriots defense? Is there a similar defense they faced in the regular season that you can equate it to?
No, there's not. And it's interesting, Chris. Mike McDonald said that he was like, "Yeah, there's not really any crossover tape that they can watch." So how crossover tape works is like if you play a scheme, and then when you're game planning, if your opponent has played against that scheme, you will then go watch that. For instance, when the Seahawks had like Clint Hurt, they had just hired Carl Scott. Remember they had Sean Desai, had some like weird defensive assistant role. They were running a lot of like what the Vikings run. And so when they would play teams, let's say they're playing the Packers, like instead of just watching all the Packers games, that would take forever to try to cram into making a game plan. Like they'll watch the Packers offense against the Vikings defense because they're running a lot of that same Saban-y cover 7 stuff. Two split safety Fangio-ish stuff. Remember, they were actually, I think, in conversation with a Vikings defensive assistant at Donatel maybe before they hired Clint, I think. So that's how a crossover tape works, like the rough version of it. Same thing on offense, right? You run the wide zone Shanahan system. So when you're preparing for them team's defense, you watch them play the 49ers, right? Crossover because they run the same scheme. Mike McDonald said it. He said it twice now. There's not really a lot of crossover. I assume he's referring to the Patriots defense maybe because he can't be referring to their offense. They just played the Chargers. The Chargers run the same scheme as the Seahawks do. The Patriots also played the Ravens, who run the same scheme as well. So I'm not really sure why he said that, what side of the ball he's referring to. But for me, I don't. From what I know about the defense, I don't see anyone who's like, all right, let's run that. Maybe because I don't really know much about the defensive coordinator. I think it's an interim. Their original coordinator, I believe, has like prostate cancer and who hasn't been around the team. So maybe that's it. But no, I don't see it. But I don't see like a defense or like go study them. That'll help you prepare for how they play how they're gonna attack Kubiak and them. I just haven't seen that. Anyway, Chris, what I am really also confident in though, what he's really been good at is getting who needs the ball. And that's Jax. Like no matter what, whether it's out of the backfield, screens, intermediate stuff, deep. The deep stuff hasn't been there really much until the championship game. But Kubiak, no matter who they're playing, has been able to get the ball to Jax. And if you get the ball to Jax, you have a shot against anybody. So, Chris, I actually feel very good just about that, no matter who they're playing this week.
Yeah, he does something that I love, which is maybe it's a design run, but you get to the line of scrimmage, you see the DBs playing 8 to 10 yards off. What do? You just give it to Jax. You know he's going to make that first guy miss. That could be a first down. That could be a touchdown, depending on what the defense is called. Maybe it's an all-out blitz. You don't see too much engage 8 unless it's like 3rd and 1. But you get my point. They saw space against the Rams, and they said, oh, we'll give it to one of our best guys, the best guy on the field. He's going to make the first defender miss, get upfield, first down. That is stuff Mike and I begged that the Seahawks do when they had Ryan Grubb, and there would be times where DK's out there against, I don't know, a corner that's 5'11", and he's playing 8 yards off. Just throw it quickly to DK. He's not looking to run by guys. He's looking to run over folks. Give him the ball. But to see that, to your point, Clint Kubiak just sees a matchup, likes it, attacks it, that is really cool to see. And I think that goes a long way into just trusting your guys, putting the ball in their hands and letting them get busy. And I'll tell you this, Clint is not afraid to do that. He will, I mean, again, we talked about it in the post-game show, the hot hand with Sam Darnold, and he was able to, Sam, get us there. Get us there with your arm. Maybe now and then maybe we'll run it, but coming out and play action passing, throwing the football, that's kind of insane in that type of moment when you know you can run the ball to kill the clock, but the Seahawks are like, we're trying to win the game through the air. We're going to get this first down. We're going to do it. We're going to do it, and Sam's going to be a big part of that. This next one comes from Axel MTG. Is there a timeline where Kubiak stays in Seattle next season?
Yeah, absolutely. I could see a world where Clint stays. And it's so right now, as we're recording, the Raiders job is still open, the Browns job is still open, and the Cardinals job is still open. I believe I've been busy today, but it looks like the Bills did hire Joe Brady, their OC. So there's only 3 jobs open. That Cardinals job, and they're all really unattractive jobs, to be very clear. But like the Cardinals job, if you're Clint, I would tell him, dog, that is super unattractive. Like, you don't have a quarterback. I'm out on Kyler now. I don't know if I've said that on the show. I'm good. Nah. So you don't have a quarterback. Your roster just not very good. I don't know much about ownership over there, but also you're in this division. This division hard as hell. Nobody want that Cardinal job, man. I just saw a report that they interviewed Ron Rivera. I was like, yeah, they're not getting any of these hot candidates from this current cycle. They gotta go get a retread. Ron's a good coach, but still, like, that's not a good job. That Browns job is awful. That it's not even just because it's the Browns, but like I saw the Tom Pelissero report. They got guys doing homework and stuff before the interview. Did you see that, Chris? Where Tom Pelissero was like, they making the Browns guys like do like a personality test and do other homework.
I didn't
you see
know.
that? It was he was like, yeah, they're analytically driven and they really want to know like their interview process looks different than everyone else's. I'm not gonna do Pelissero's whole report, but that was crazy. On top of that, the Browns seem very hell-bent on whoever, if they hire an offensive mind, they're going to tell him, hey, you need to keep Jim Schwartz as our DC because their defense was really good. And it's just like, in theory, that is fine, but I just don't want you hiring me as the head coach and then telling me what I got to do, like who I need to hire, who I need to retain, because Jim might also just get the job if no one takes it. That tells you what they think of Jim and how much power they're willing to give him. So I don't want to be there as the co-head coach with Jim. I want to be the head coach of the Browns. And if I want to keep Jim, then I'll keep Jim. If I want to tell Jim to kick rocks, I need the freedom to do that without y'all being mad at me. So that's also why that Cleveland job is a disaster to me to take, even though that division is probably wide open now. So that job sucks. And then the Raiders job, and if Clint asked me about this, what I'll tell him, I'll be like, hey, man, do you even know who you're working for? Like, Tom Brady's like he's like co-running the Raiders from Miami with no exec experience. Why should I listen to Tom Brady about players? Like, legitimately, I'm not even being a jerk about that. There's no exec experience. He don't even live in Vegas. He got another job. He's doing, I think the Raiders were interviewing candidates this weekend. Where was Brady? He was here. What the hell? Like, yeah, so all those jobs are completely unattractive. And I could see Clint looking at all those jobs the way I just looked at them and being like, yeah, I'm good. My family has moved a lot in the last 5-6 years. Let's keep them right here in Seattle. We either got to the Super Bowl or won it. Let's either win another one, or if they lose this game, let's get back. I could easily see him being like, these jobs all stink. I want to stay. Easily see that, because these jobs are not good. That Bills job was good. Ravens job was good. Steelers job was good. The Raiders got the #1 pick and a bunch of cap space. A couple blue chip players in Genty and Bowers and Crosby, who they'll probably trade. It's like that job is not super attractive. So I could easily see that. I would actually, like, if Clint was to confide in me, like I was saying how Mike do Leslie Frazier, I'd be like, nah, dog, you good. And not just because I covered the team, I would objectively give him all the stuff I just read you guys. I'd be like, what do you like about these jobs, particularly that Cardinals one? Like, dude, you're going to get fired in 2 years. Going against Shanahan, McVay, and Mike twice a year? Are you kidding me? No, not until you get a quarterback, which they don't have one. So, yeah, I think there's definitely a world where teams also just don't want to wait to talk to him either. You got to wait a long time, to hire the coach. You can't hire Clint until like February 9th. It's a long time to not have a coach. I mean, you can maybe agree like backdoor handshake thing, but he can't start the job until mid-February. Some teams might just not want to wait on that either.
This next one is from Rumpelstiltskin. Who is better at head coach and quarterback in this Super Bowl?
This is a very tough one. So I actually was like looking up some stuff. So let's start with the quarterback. This is interesting. So in the regular season, Drake May was a better quarterback than Sam Darnold, objectively. It's very simple. Drake was lighting it up this year, more efficient. They were both very explosive, but whereas where Drake took a bunch of sacks this year, Sam basically just turned it over. Like they both had the thing that was their flaw. But if I'm gonna pick one, definitely take sacks versus turning the ball over. Don't want that. So Drake was the better player in the regular season. In the playoffs, so this is fascinating. So there's been 24 qualifying playoff performances this year. So 20 out of 24 quarterbacks who were in the playoffs this year in a game. Sam has the number 1 and number 3 performances by EPA per play. And then Drake, he's number 15, 18, and number 20. Like he has objectively been not very good in the playoffs. Any Patriots fan listening would say, well, Mike, read the defenses he played. Don't mind if I do. The Chargers defense, very good. The Texans defense, elite. The Broncos defense, on the road, by the way, in the snow, very good. So there could be an easy explanation for why Drake's numbers are bad. Like these are bad performances that he's put out. These are not good. Nothing if he did what he did if Drake in the playoffs was putting up these numbers that he put up, if playoff Drake was regular season Drake, he wouldn't sniff MVP. He'd probably get in the Pro Bowl because I just saw Shador got in, so they're letting anybody in these days. If Shador had not got in, they probably would have asked me and Chris to show up and play quarterback for the AFC side. Like this is ridiculous. Letting anybody in. But so in the playoffs, Sam has been better, though he has played not as good defenses. Drake has been bad, played better defenses. So it depends on how you want to look at that. I would still probably lean it towards Drake because of the bigger sample size of the regular season. But it's a lot closer than people think. And then head coach, I think this is a straight push. It's a straight push. Vrabel's very good, motivating, connecting with his guys. Let me see what you think about this, Chris. I would maybe give a slight edge to the impact that Mike can have on this game and his team winning being a little greater. Oh, shoot. I forgot. They got the same name. Wait. Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Mike and Mike. Mike Vrabel, Mike McDonald. Yeah.
They also both beat guys named Sean. I ain't even peeped that. Sean McVay,
deep in your
Sean
bag.
Payton. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow. So,
you gonna have the story on that tomorrow?
Somebody's probably pointing this out, and they're listening like, damn, you guys are late. You didn't realize that? Answer is no. I did not realize that in the conference championship, it was Mike versus Sean and Mike versus Sean. Wow. If anybody should have picked on that up, it should have been me. How I didn't catch that.
Michael, Sean, hey.
Yeah. How did I not catch that? Wow. That's fascinating. I think that Mike McDonald can have a slightly bigger impact on his team winning because he calls the plays. I don't know. Does that make sense? I think because Vrabel just kind of he's vibing. He got the game management stuff, but like Mike is actively calling plays. So I think if it is a push, he could have a bigger impact on his team winning or losing, I guess.
I would if there's any impact, I would just point to the Seahawks having the better players defensively. That leans more in Mike's favor.
Yeah, they do.
That right there could be the recipe.
They got some good players over there in New England, though.
No, they have good players, but how many? For instance, how many All Pros do the Patriots have versus the Seahawks on defense or Pro Bowlers? We'll start with Pro Bowlers. How many Pro Bowlers do the Patriots have on defense versus the Seahawks on defense? I think the Seahawks win that 4-3. Actually, Leonard Williams, Ernest Jones, Devin Witherspoon.
That's a good question.
Julian Love. Am I missing someone? Did Reek make it?
So Christian Gonzalez made it.
I'm over drawing a blank.
I think that Christian Gonzalez and Drake May were their two.
Well, just defense though.
Well, yeah, I was just googling just all of
Oh,
them,
yep.
or I went to their page. I didn't just Google. I went to the Pro Football Reference. So you got that, and then for the Seahawks, they had Jax, Spoon, uh, Leo, D Law, and Sam.
Yep.
Yeah,
So it's
so
3-1.
yeah, that's fair.
That could easily swing the momentum. 3 Pro Bowlers, an All Pro guy. That's I'm not saying that'll definitely be the end all be all because to your point, yeah, the Patriots do have good defenders, but I think the Seahawks just have maybe that. Dang, Ernest didn't even make the Pro Bowler. That's a bummer. That's
No,
right. He
Ernest
didn't.
and Kobe were alternates, but I do think Vrabel
Yeah.
is a really good coach.
Oh yeah, not to
But
take anything away from him. Like you said, it's a wash. It's closer than it. If you had to pick one, it's 51% to 49. That's how close it is. Like you can't go wrong. So I'm with you on that. That's fair.
If someone was to say Vrabel's the better coach, we're like, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you because I covered the Seahawks. Like Vrabel has a very big track record of being a good coach, and not just because he took a team that was bad last year and they're good now. Vrabel didn't coach the team that was 4-13. Like maybe if Vrabel had those exact same players last year, they would have also went 4-13. I'm not really giving him credit for fixing a situation by coaching different players. Like maybe if that team last year had had Milton Williams and Carlton Davis and all these other guys they spent money on, Travion Henderson, and drafted Kyle Williams and drafted Will Campbell. Like that's a different team than the one that sucked. So I'm not really giving Vrabel a bunch of credit for that. I'm looking at this team. What he's done with this team has been very, very, very good.
We kind of talked about it, but maybe we can give a clear reason as to what happened. How did the Seahawks win the game Sunday, giving up multiple explosive plays?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Chip.
Yeah, thank you, Chip. It's a good question. And it forced me to go look back at the numbers because so in the question, Chip had mentioned they gave up 8. And that's fine. I just wanted to check that number. So explosive plays, how I define them and how they are typically defined by teams internally, a run of 12 yards or more and a pass play of 16 yards or more. So those are the parameters we are working with. The Rams had 2 explosive runs, a 13-yard scramble by Stafford at the end of the half. I think it was the last play of the first half, and then a 19-yard run by Blake Corum. Now, the first one, come on now. The last one, or the second run, is just Reek just didn't set the edge. That's pretty simple. Now, the pass plays are probably where it's like, damn, what's going on? So they had the Rams had 10 explosive pass plays in that game, which is really hard. That's kind of how you lose. And I can go through some of them here. Spoon gave up at least 3 of them. Job gave up 3 of them. Reek gave up 3 of them. So the short answer is their corners were losing. That's how. But I think the difference in the game, and I mentioned this in my game preview that I did with Nate Atkins, was I thought the Seahawks were the more complete team than the Rams because they were better on special teams. And I figured that a special teams play would make the difference. Lo and behold, the Seahawks in that game had a scoring drive that was one play for 17 yards. The Jake Bobo touchdown was set up after Bro fumbled. My man was shaking in his boots as that ball was coming. And it was bad. I don't know what they showed on the broadcast, but obviously they showed the same thing.
He
yeah, oh my God. Yeah, nah, he
Poor
was nervous as hell. Yeah, I felt bad. I went up to Nate after in the press box, Nate Atkins, our Rams writer. I was like, is he a rookie or something? I could have looked that up. I don't know why I didn't do that. But I was like, yo, Nate, is he a rookie? He's like, he's a young guy, but not a rookie. Because I was like, that looked like a dude who just was not ready for the moment. Because he didn't catch the first one clean. He bobbled that. And then the next time he went out there, he was just like, oh my God, the ball is coming. What do I do? And he panicked. And that was the difference. The Seahawks won by 4 points. There you go. The Jake Bobo touchdown drive. Now, that obviously that wasn't the game winner. What did that do? That put them up 24-13, but it changed the math pretty quickly on how the Rams should operate. The Rams came out throwing it. Now, they did on the next drive and scored a touchdown. But so anyway, special teams is the short answer. That's how they won the game, by giving up a bunch of explosives. But also the Seahawks had explosives right back. That helps. And also, Sam had 5 explosive passes. He also had a 14-yard scramble. So Sam alone had 6 explosives. But then the other thing is they, on top of, because there wasn't a turnover in this game, right? The conference championship.
Nope. Well, actually,
There
the
wasn't one.
fumble.
Yeah. So there wasn't one on offense or defense, but there was on special teams. So they won the turnover battle, and they got a 4th down stop, which is in effect a turnover. So they basically won that. They were +2 essentially in the turnovers, right? Because the Seahawks didn't. I don't think the Seahawks failed on 4th down or anything. So that's how you win. Those are the other ways you win, though, is turnovers, and 4th down efficiency. Like the Rams went 1 for 2 on 4th down, and then the Seahawks didn't attempt one. So you get a 4th down stop, win the turnover battle. That's how you can beat a good team like that. But despite
Th-
giving up a bunch of explosive plays.
This next one is from Chris Lee. Thinking about the story on Cup's final year with Los Angeles, the elevator stuff, and how he had a huge catch and drew a call to extend the final drive, Ernest Jones had a huge smile on his face talking about what that meant to Coop. Was that a rallying point for the team, you think?
I talked about this on the opening to our post game show. I don't want to say a rallying point, turning point, whatever. I don't think those external things really matter much. I do think everyone just like is playing hard for the guy next to them, and they're aware of the other parts, like the sub stories within the larger story. They're aware the Rams traded Ernest, obviously. They know how Cooper Cup feels about getting cut by the Rams. Um, and it's weird too. Not weird, because I read that story that Mike Silver did. We talked about the elevator thing and the coaches fighting. That was crazy. But it's funny just because like the Rams were still probably right. Like the Rams are here because they they got rid of Cooper, got Devontae Adams, who led the league in touchdowns. Like it wasn't like a bad move. Now maybe they just didn't explain it well to Coop, but it's like if I was the Rams, I'd be like, "How do you want us to tell you we don't think you're that good anymore?" Maybe Coop's just like, "Just tell me," but I don't think there's a nice way to get that information. You know what I mean? Like you can't be like, well, hey, we love you. Do the compliment sandwich, but like, we just tired of scheming you open. No, man, any version of the truth would have hurt. He would have felt that way. So I get Coop's side of it, and I actually get the Ram side of it. But so the guys are aware of all that. They're aware that like Cam Curl said that they're in Sam's head, and they always will be. They're aware of like Jawan Jennings was like, we can't wait. They're aware of like the chirping. Somebody said they got lucky in the game. Julian Love tweeted about that yesterday. It's like, I guess we got lucky again. Like they're aware of that stuff, but I really think their own motivations are just more powerful than anything else. Of like helping Coop get back at the Rams, helping Ernest get back at the Rams, helping Mike beat McVay. I just don't think that stuff's so far down secondary to this team, as it should be. I think it's just far more powerful when you are motivated by like, I'm doing this because I love these guys, not because I want to shut up Jawan Jennings or something like that. I feel like if you get caught in those things, you don't play as well. Now you can troll guys after for sure. Like Dante Whitner said something slick about Reek. Reek hit Twitter. He's like, "Oh, what's up, man? He was talking that stuff. Your team scored 6 points. Holla at me." Like whatever Reek said. They definitely do that stuff for sure. Like, but it's after the fact, is when they really start caring about it, not beforehand using it as motivation. Like I get like the other example I've used on this show, I think before, is the reason they wanted to beat their ass so bad in week 18, not because of what was at stake or how much they talked, how much the Niners talked. I mean, it was like, y'all beat us week 1, so we owe you. If that game meant nothing else for seeding, playoffs, nothing, that was going to be their motivation. You beat us, so we owe you. That was it. And I think that's the biggest motivator you need. That's kind of how the team operated all year.
This is from Bam Bam Cam. If the Seahawks want to keep this going and be contenders over the next few years, what do they need to do this offseason? Who do they keep? Who do they let go?
Well, you try to keep everybody that you can. They just got a lot of tough calls, man. I mean, all their corners are up for new money. I'm looping Spoon into that. You can extend him. Reek and Job contracts are done. Kobe's contract is done. Yeah, you got some Boye's contract is done. Ken's contract is done. We talked about Derek, his is done too. I don't know if they'll re-sign him, but yeah, I mean, I would try to keep everybody together. You probably just got to make a choice. You look at Kobe, Reek, and Job. You probably just gotta say pick one. To be honest, probably just pick one. Unless you want to go deep into void years for those guys, but it also just doesn't feel like you would pay all three guys from one draft class in that way after you've already paid Abe and Charles from that draft class as well. That's just a lot to ask. You can do it, I guess, if you want to just be the Saints and swipe it on the credit card. But just like any run, to extend it, you have to hit on guys who are for the cheap. You always got to draft well. And so it's like, all right, if you do let Job walk and you let Reek walk, but you want to cash out Kobe, well, then John and his guys need to go draft some corners who can play right away. Like and that's every position. You have to do that if you decide to let guys walk. Like, all right, you're gonna let Golden Tate walk. All right, what are you gonna do at receiver? Right. So it's always gonna be find cheap talent. Find cheap talent. And you just got to figure out where you can do that at some positions and where you can't. Like this year, they were like, we're not about to do nothing else with linebacker. We paid Ernest. That's where all the linebacker money's going. So either Drake Thomas, Patrick O'Connell, or Tyrese Knight is going to have to play. We're not allocating any more resources to that. And that's whatever. That's fine. But that's how you got to do your books. It's going to be like, all right, if we pay Kobe and let's say they pay Reek too, it's like, all right, we're about to have the cheapest set of edge rushers in the world or something like that. Just however you want to balance it. Or it's like, all right, if we pay Shaheed, forgot about Shaheed. If we pay Shaheed and then give Jackson a new deal, which he should get, all right, ain't nobody else on the line or on offense about to be making money. It's about to be just Sam, Abe, Charles, Jax, Sheed. Everybody else is for the low. That means letting Ken walk probably in that scenario. AJ Barner is already for the low. Saubert's for the low. So Elijah's already for the low. So it's just about how they want to balance their books. If it was up to me, I just was like keep everybody at the premium spots that you can, probably, and then probably keep Ken as well, just because you need a running back. But I do at the same time, I don't want everybody on the team. I don't want to be advocating for them to just keep everybody for the low either, who's earned money. Like I want Ken to get paid. If that means he got to go get paid by someone else, then by all means. Reek, same thing. Kobe, same thing. Boye, same thing. You're just not going to be able to do that. So you're probably going to you're just going to have to make that choice that they made last time they won the Super Bowl. They decided to pay the entire defense and said, Russ, we're just going to have to draft you some more linemen, all right? We can't pay any. That terrible. But that was the strategy. And John has said this on the record multiple times. Why I don't get why people blame Pete for all the personnel stuff. John has explained his thought process on record with a lot of this stuff. He was like, our defense is expensive as hell. We're paying 2 safeties, 2 linebackers, 2 D linemen, expensive ass corner. So yes, we have to skimp somewhere. We chose the O-line. It backfired. They have to do the same thing again. Choose who you want to pay, and then find out that you're gonna have to skimp and draft well somewhere else.
Got a few more, Mike. This is from our girl Holly. Mike, what's the more challenging part about covering the Super Bowl rather than a regular season game?
Oh, glad Holly asked us after this planning meeting. Yeah, it really is. It's tough because you want to balance having fun. If there's gonna be people down there I don't get to see, running into a bunch of celebrities and all that, parties, other journalists I don't get to see every time, versus like, all right, I want to write all these stories about all this stuff. Like I have all these stories I want to do, finding out like what matters, what audience I'm catering to. There's going to be a lot more eyeballs on my stories from people who are fan bases of other markets. All right, well, am I catering to them, or do I want to like really go into the weeds on something about like Julian Love that probably only Seahawks fans really care about this week? So there's that part. There's the part where I'm just probably not going to sleep at all between like social events, doing my job, writing all these stories, doing the pod, being on other people's shows to help grow this show. Yeah, there's just a lot more. It's more of everything, more eyeballs, more pressure. I had one of my homies who he's an NBA writer, but he texted me. He's like, "Bro, you better come with a heater story if they win." Like because that's what the journalists and my homies tell me. Like, hey, if I'm on a national TV game, I get all my group chats will light up. All right, Mike, we need that pen. What's that pen doing tonight? We need that fire. which I'm used to. I'm like Jax told me on Sundays, like, oh, I'm built for this. Yeah, me too. Like big game, big pen comes out. Like I'm fine. But the key has always got to be like just be you. Like you'll see some people, and you guys will notice this while I'm mentioning it. Some people will like have these normal game stories, feature stories, and then they get into like the big game, a playoff or something like that, and write what reads like a romance novel. That's just never been my bag. I don't need to romanticize this. Just write what it is. Just be clever with it, you know. And that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna do all week. I'm having another planning meeting with my editor. Gonna knock this out, but it really is just trying to get to everything because now like every story is compelling now because it involves the Super Bowl. For instance, I want to do one on like the guys who were in the like middle road of like Seahawks defense history. Now you got like the Legion of Boom and you got the MOB. Now I want to write about the guys who were in the middle, who are still around, like Quandre, like Shaquille, right? But it's like, am I even gonna get to that because of all this other stuff? Then we're writing about Jody and how many Sam stories am I gonna have to do? How many times am I gonna have to write about Super Bowl 49? Hopefully, I only gotta do that once, but I'm gonna have to do that. Just all this, it's tough balancing. Like, there's so much stuff I want to get to because I personally find so many of these guys' stories compelling. Ernest and Kobe. I find Drake Thomas's story compelling. I'm probably not gonna get to that. I'm just not. He's just lower on the list, you know. Reek, same thing. So that's tough. There's just so many stories I want to tell, and you get to the Super Bowl and you're like, I'm gonna write all these great feature stories. And it's like, well, there's only so many hours in the day. You gotta do all this other stuff. But I promise y'all, I'm gonna write great stuff. I'm gonna use the help I got from my colleagues who are down there. They basically told me that Matt Barrows, our Niners writer, is like my helper for the week. Anything I need that I can't get to, holler at Matt. So that's good. It's like having an assistant. It's great. So that'll be helpful. But yeah, there's just more eyeballs on your stuff. I tell people this sometimes when they're like, "Oh man, Mike, that's your job, super cool. You get to like write stories about the team." And then they'll ask me sometimes what's the hardest part about it. And the hardest part is that thousands of people read it. Like if you guys went to college and you got stories, you know, and Chris went to Wazoo with me. You know, sometimes that paper due at midnight and you just typing that joint up at 11. You know, because you know the only person who really gonna read it is the teacher, and even then it might just be the TA that reads it, right? So you're writing for an audience of one. I'm writing for an audience of thousands all the time, and people can pass it around on Reddit and judge it and comment on Twitter that I spelled this wrong or got this wrong. There is a lot of it's not as easy to just write a thing. Like people care. And then you're writing about a thing that other people were at too. So it's like you're writing about stuff and someone also wrote about the same thing. Was theirs better than yours? Like, does this person have a better column than me? Does like whose game was Bob Condotta's game story better than my game story? Did he get a quote that was better than my quote? You can compare all that stuff and argue about it. So there's just more pressure. And then, like I said, more people read it. So it's a lot of pressure. But like Jack said, made for this. I'll be fine. All my stuff is gonna be great. So hopefully you guys will subscribe to the Athletic if you haven't, because I'm coming with heat all for the next like 3 weeks.
This last one comes from Eric Wall. How funny do you think it would be if JSN took a picture holding the Lombardi trophy in front of Lenore's locker?
Chris, I usually don't like, except for that one time we were looking for a nickname for Julian Love. I did go take pod content and present it to a player. Maybe I've done it another time as well. That was it. I am 1000% pitching that to Jax. In the event they win, I won't put it in his ear until they win. We'll go find him and like, dog, I got this funny idea. So if that happens, Chris, we got to credit Eric Wall for asking it, and then I will
1,000.
take that. Jack, what you got, Eric? I'm sure you're listening because you wanted to hear your question get asked. Please tweet me or Chris or whatever Sunday, because so much is going to happen between now and the game. I'm gonna forget.
I've bookmarked it.
You got it. Okay. So there we
go. I will always, yeah. But still hit us up because Mike, you're also right. It'll be very busy. The game will be happening. There's gonna be big plays. There's gonna be questions after the game as well. So I have it bookmarked. But yes, Eric, hit Mike up, hit me up, do what you gotta do because that would be fire. It'd be hilarious too.
It'd
be amazing. Great. That'd be a great storybook. Jason don't even gotta say nothing. Just I'm gonna leave it at that. That's fire.
Yeah.
Great idea.
There's just so much to go back to Holly's question. There is just so much that is like storybook for this game. Like Mike McDonald calling plays on defense. Like that doesn't really happen for a Super Bowl winning coach, you know. Like then there's all like the small like there's gonna be someone who went to Lenore Ryan if the Seahawks win, who went to Lenore Ryan that wins a Super Bowl. That's Tariq Young school. You got undrafted guys like Jake Bobo will be a Super Bowl champion, you know, if they win. There'll be somebody from Australia, a Seahawks Super Bowl champion, and Michael Dixon. It's like this, and that's why so many people come from all over. Like there's the Wazoo beat writer for the Spokesman Review, I believe, is coming down for the Super Bowl. Why? Abe Lucas is in it. Kyle Williams is in it. There you go. 2 Cougs, that's enough. Bring him on down. Like so now there'll be a Coug, and there's guaranteed to be a Coug champion from this game, right? So it's just all you just can't get to all of it though. That sucks on my end because I want to get to all of that. Like right about Abe. You know, Abe's from Seattle. You know, it'd be a guy from Seattle winning the Super Bowl. So, I mean, I should probably do that one, but I probably won't get to that actually. Now that I think about it, it's not even on my list. I'll add it though. I'll make Barrows do that one. I'll make Matt do that. Anyway, I'm not gonna rattle off all the stories, but they're just as you guys can see as I'm talking myself through. There are just so many that you wanna get to. You know, yeah. So it's tough. It's tough. Hopefully they win. I can get to everything eventually. You know, hopefully that happens.
There you have it. This has been the Mailbag edition of Seahawks Man to Man. As Super Bowl is only a few weeks, well, 2 weeks away in theory, but we appreciate all the love and support. Make sure you follow us via Instagram, Seahawks Man to Man, and TikTok, Seahawks Man to Man, and also subscribe on YouTube at Seahawks Man to Man. You can follow me on Twitter at CKIDD206. We appreciate all the love and support. Mike, close us out.
I got more books today. So if you want a book, hardcover, I got some in stock. I think a couple dozen left. So hit me while it's hot. Also, last thing on books, there you can order a paperback copy, have it shipped to me as a gift. That way you don't need my address because I love y'all, but not that much. And I will sign and ship you a paperback copy. The publisher printed like 1,000 more paperback copies. There's a gift link on Amazon. I will make sure Chris has it so he can put it at least on our YouTube show description. You can also just DM me or Chris or our Seahawks Man to Man show and get that link if you want a paperback copy. Those will start shipping on February 3rd. I'll be down in Santa Clara or whatever. I'll be down in the Bay at that time. But once I run out of hardcovers, if you don't get to me in time, or if money's tight, you want to wait, I will have paperback copies as well too, and I won't run out of those. So I'll get you a book, however. That's the last update. Appreciate the love on all the books that we've been selling so far. We'll catch you guys. We're podding all week, baby. So we'll catch you guys later in the week with more stuff. Enjoy the week. Peace.